Okay, this is my first video ever that's not actually Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. Welcome to the Duel Master channel, and this is my first ever deck profile for the Dragon Ball card game, which is the next card game that I'm very into. And we'll probably get a lot more content on the channel after the digital version finally releases, eventually. I tried to join the beta, but sadly I could not, so there will be no content for that, sadly. Nonetheless, this is my first deck profile for the game, and it's for one of my favorite decks currently. Android 21. BT20, just released a few weeks ago. I forgot the exact date. But anyways, let's start with the deck profile. First off, the leader is just stupid. Unawakened, you need 4 less life to awaken. One of the few leaders that does not have actually a secondary condition. But it's a way to somewhat make this deck a bit more balanced because, as we shall see, this is a very stupid deck. Of course, you can take a life, +5. Look at the top 5. Get an android. Simple. You can do that every turn, once per turn, and once you reach 4 less life, you can draw a card, reactivate an energy, awaken. And Android 21, the nature of evil. You cannot activate extra cards on your turn, and that's not a problem. But you can use your opponent's battle and unison cards as energy for your own cards. Of course, it is very stupid. Even though you do need to still pay the specified costs, it is still extremely stupid. This is my deck profile that I used on in my locals, so it's not really regional or very big tournaments, but you know, I know very well that it's still very viable and it's one of the best deck lists from a lot of testing and all that. So let's start. Of course, 4 of Android 21 full power counter. This is one of the stupidest floodgates in the game currently, and in blue. Blue has a lot of stupid floodgates. This is just an extra one. Basically, tap 4, counter attack, play this card. Your opponent cannot attack anymore unless they discard a card from hand and discard a card from their Z energy. That is incredibly stupid, and I love it. Very nice. Of course, you need to play it at 4. Very, very good card. Next is the boss monster, Android 21 Ceaseless Despair. As you can see, only 3. Just because I wanted to flex, I have 1 SPR. So that's about it. This is the boss monster of the deck. If you're going against blue, you can get this card out very early in the game, and it's very powerful. Wipes the board, dual attack, double strike, and for once per turn, if your opponent counters, they have to discard 2 cards. Very nice. It guarantees even if your attack doesn't go through, you're getting a lot of cards out of your opponent's hand, no matter what. Very nice. Next we have 3 of Android 21, Wavering Will. Not a lot of people like this card. I play it because it's an extra Android 21. The more the merrier on this deck. And you can use your opponent's battle cards and unisons as energy for it. You can't really use your opponent's resources unless it's a 21 card, so the more the better. It's a counterplay. Play this card if it's your opponent's turn. You draw a card. If it's your turn, you bottom deck a card. It's okay. It's a blocker critical, and it restands. So, not bad, honestly. And again, it's an extra name. Next, the secret rare, which is Android 21. The Android 21 secret rare that I definitely did not forget the name of, but yeah, Transcendent Predator. Yeah, I think that's the name. Anyways, this secret rare is the reason I lost to this deck actually multiple times. You can play it for 4, very cheap. You can use your opponent's cards as energy, very stupid. Dual attack, deflect, barrier. When it is played, you take everything your opponent has, including the unison. For every 2 cards chosen, you gain an extra life. Maximum 2, of course. If it was an unlimited amount, it would be a very broken card. It's still very stupid, but I love it. It's very nice. It's also very expensive. Don't even try to get the alt art unless you're a rich person. It's stupid. It's currently at $2K for some reason. The normal secret rare is like 400 max. Still stupid, but I got one, so I'm very happy about that. Anyways, very good secret rare. You gotta play it. It's meant for this deck. Nothing else comes close to how good this is. Next, 4 of Android 21 Total Audacity. This card, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, is basically a pot of greed. It's very stupid. Double strike, draw 2 cards. Tap 2, use 2 of your opponent's resources as energy. So basically, you play for 2, draw 2 cards. And at the end of your opponent's turn, you give them a clone token, which you can also use as an energy. So, very nice. Very flexible. Always gotta play at 4. Very nice. Next is your turn 1 play. Android 21, Mandatory Gathering. Basically, you go first, tap 1, play it, look at top 5, get an Android. Cost 5 or less if I'm not mistaken, yes. And at the end of your opponent's next turn, they gain another clone token. So, extra energy for you. It's a weird way to ramp, but it's a ramping method, and it's amazing. It also has a secondary effect that you don't use that much, but when you combo with this from your hand, you can play another clone token on your opponent's field. It's not too bad, but doesn't come up that often. Next, we got 2 of Android 21 Bewitching Battler. The reason why I played at 2, it's a very expensive card, and you need 4 specified energy. So unless you're playing against blue, this card is not going to come out that often. But it's still very good. It's 25k, double strike blocker that has revive. So, not too bad. And you can revive it without paying its cost by removing a clone token. So, pretty good. Only play it at 2 though because it's still quite expensive. So, yeah. Up next is Android 21, A Bad Omen. This card is basically budget Beast Gohan. Basically, get your opponent to 1 life, play it, deal 1 damage immediately, you win the game. Very nice. Of course, since the leader says you can't play cards using skills, you have to pay the 5 cost, which is not a bad thing because it's only 2 specified, so you can use 3 from your opponent's field. Again, this leader is nuts, but I love it. It's very fun, very competitive. Amazing. Next up, we got 4 Senza Beans. If you play this game or if you know anything about it, This is a staple for every blue deck ever. You gotta play Senza Beans. Very nice. You restand 2 energy if you use it while defending, thanks to the errata. But it's more fair this way, I guess. Oh my god, really? Okay. Sorry about that ad. But yeah, 4 Senza Beans. You can you can play less if you want, but I like the consistency of always having a Senza Bean. Next, we got 4 Dimension Magic, the best negate in this deck by 4. Very good. You basically you can play it for free, untap 2 cards. You got more resources to use on your opponent's turn to play your counterattacks, counterplays, make them unable to play. It's very nice. Like I don't really have much to say. It's just Dimension Magic, a staple for any blue deck ever. Next up, we got 4 Unstoppable Techniques. This is the negate that comes with the set. It's meant for this deck. It's very good. It's basically a free negate that also gives your opponent a token and also restands one of your energy, so super good. You have to play that 4. Like people who play it less than 4, no, you need that. You need this card. Next up, we got 3 of Android 18, Measureless Strength. The card that went very high in price because of this deck's existence. But, thank God I had some before the deck released, so didn't need to pay that much. 3 copies, you can play it at 4, but 3 is the good number. Basically, most of the time you're only going to use this as energy. You're not going to use its second effect that much. If you have a very bad hand, it can be used. Basically, you discard the card. Top 5, gain an android. Not too bad. It's a searcher, basically. It's an extra search. Not too bad. Yeah, 3 is a good number. You can play it at 4 if you want. Next up, 2 Super Combo Vegeta. It's a staple. You bottom deck a card, draw 2. Very good super combo. Can't go wrong. But I only play that 2 because we have, well, it's not here, it's going to be next, but anyways. 1 copy of Android 17 Turning the Tide. This is basically for stally games. If you get 7 energy, you play him, you basically win the game. He's very stupid. Like, yeah. He works very well in this deck as well, because this deck ramps energy very fast. But you only need 1 copy, so this is good enough. 1 copy, because it's limited to 1 now, thank God. The Unison of Majin Buu, Assault of the Agents of Destruction. This is just one of the stupidest Unisons in the game at the moment. It's kind of expensive in this deck. You don't really play it that much. This is why it's a one-of anyways, even if it was not limited. But, it comes up sometimes. I actually did play it in my locals once, and it did make a difference. So, yeah, can be very helpful. You don't add any markers, you draw 1, and it restands. The auto -1. When your opponent attacks, you just bottom deck a card. Very stupid. Next we got 3 Chilled Armies Reinforcements. You could technically take this out, play something else. It's fine. I'm okay with it. It's a token negate. Pretty nice. Pretty standard for any blue deck. You can play that 2 if you want. I prefer having extra negates in the deck, just for extra safety. Even though this deck is very good at being defensive. It's pretty nice. Next up we got, of course, Dirty Burst for the Gogetas, for all the giant 8-drop behemoths. We got the new Cumber, the 8 drop Cumber. You can dirty burst them. Gogeta, of course, red Gogeta. Any red deck that has a big monster. I mean, this is mainly for red. So yeah, pretty good card. You only need two because red is not really that prominent at the moment. So yeah, two Dirty Burst, good amount. Next up we got, this is the second super combo that I was talking about. This is actually pretty insane on this deck. You combo with this guy, you basically restand an energy. You take one of your energy, you put another card in active mode. Very stupid. You gain energy for comboing. It's insane. I don't really have much else to say about this card. It's very nice. And the final card we have in the main deck is two absolute release ball. I actually don't have this don't have this card in real life yet, but I'm waiting to actually get it. I did do test it out and untap though, so I know it's very good for this deck. It's necessary to at least have one. Really nice. It's a counterplay. Pretty mandatory in every deck. At least every 21 deck lists. Not in every blue deck. You don't need it in every blue deck. But yeah, pretty nice. Your opponent plays something, return it to the hand. Very good. That's about it for the main deck. We got, let's see. This is it fully. And for the Z deck, I almost said extra deck for playing too much Yu-Gi-Oh, but anyways. We got two copies of Enter 21 in the Name of Hunger. Pretty self-explanatory. You need two of this card. Basically, you play this one turn 2. You Z-stack the other one. And on your opponent's main phase, you tap one, play the other one. Ramp an energy from the top of your deck. Continue with your game. It's pretty nice, pretty good. And also when this card is played, you can add one life to your hand, which is a good way to awaken very fast. You should most of the time awaken turn 2. If you're very unlucky, you might awaken turn 3, but most of the time, turn 2. It has critical, but this card barely attacks most of the time. You can use your Z battle cards as energy, so it's better to not attack with them for the most part, but it's up to you. Basically, this one is the one that gets played from under the first one. When it's played, you basically Z-stack one from your Z battle cards and one from your opponent's battle cards. You can Z-stack two Z battle cards, but it's up to you, depending on what your opponent has at the moment. Very good. Every turn, it can gain one keyword skill from whatever is under it. So basically, you put this guy under it, and now you have a 20k triple striker. Turn 3. Stupid. Very powerful. Of course, 2 beers for the removal. Very nice. Very good. It can restand. It has dual attack if you use the main. It's a staple for every blue deck at the moment. You can go down to 1 if you want. Maybe add a Cell. I don't think you need Cell in this deck, but you can play him. I prefer just 2 of this guy. And then, as I said, the 1 Vegito to Z-stack under the 21. Basically, you never play this guy normally. You just Z-stack him and go from there. Very good. Very powerful. Triple strike, barrier, deflect, blocker, everything. Pretty nice. And that's it for the Z deck. And that is it for my first ever deck profile. Hope it was useful, hope it was good, and I hope you enjoy. there's going to be a lot more content like this, especially when the digital version finally comes out. This is the Duel Master, and this is the end of today's video. See you next time.